Experience. I'm your host, Jason Cabness. Our guest today is Chelsey Roney. Chelsey, you ready to be great today?
Thanks for having me.
Chelsey brings her business building and strategy experience to Proxy, where she serves as COO and leads a team of 5, growing the business through sales and marketing. After graduating from Texas A&M, Chelsey joined Boeing, where she worked in financial planning and analysis, and Microsoft, where she worked in a domain center that focused on B2B omnichannel marketing. She grew up and sold 2 businesses, a SaaS business in the university space and a local service business. She's also an active member of the community, dedicated parent, and passionate supporter of women in business. Chelsey, thanks for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So what's keeping you busy right now?
Well, growing Proxy. So we are on a mission to have as many people as possible find our platform and make interactive, customizable maps. And I'm in charge of growth. So it's, for me, my day-to-day is packed with finding new channels or optimizing our current channels and trying to get as many people as possible to find out about us.
So growth for a startup is vastly different from a growth than I would say like a IBM or Boeing, right?
Yes. Oh, most definitely. So, there's so many for a larger company. First of all, you already have that known brand presence. And so it's all about converting the people that already know about you in a lot of cases. And then for a startup, you have to overcome the challenge of people not even knowing who you are to begin with. And so there's a lot of extra steps around that part of it.
Can you talk about the challenge, because y'all just got VC funding, right? Or raised a seed round or something, right?
Exactly.
Talk about the challenge, like not only have to have growth, but, you have to show your investors, like you're growing by 20% per month, 30% per month.
Yes.
Can you talk about the challenge of that?
Exactly. So we do. So you're exactly right. We have to show our investors that we have grown as much as possible every month. And so it's challenging because we have to show this growth. And we have to show it from all of these different platforms. And go to the next.
Yeah.
I'm having a little bit of stage fright on my first ever live podcast here, or my first ever filmed podcast.
Go back to it.
Yeah.
So you have 5 people on the team right now, right?
That's right.
Including you and the CEO, right?
That's right.
So talk about the process of why y'all decided to have a CEO so early. Because a lot of startups, we're not going to do a CEO until wait 30, 40, 50 people. Why did you have a CEO so early in the process?
Well, it's been helping us get some direction. So in role clarity. So just by having these titles, we know that our CEO, her main job is to go after funding and to help craft our story as a company and lead all of these different divisions of our company toward the same end goal. And then for me, I'm called the COO. So I handle things that aren't on the product side of the house. So everything from operations to marketing. And that just helps us understand where we're going and what we're doing when we're all working together.
Yes. So you mentioned omni-channel marketing.
Yeah.
First, can you explain what that is in case someone doesn't know what it is?
Yeah.
And then some people will say don't do omni-channel marketing because you too spread too thin. Other people say, no, don't just do one market, only do Instagram because you're missing everything else.
Yeah.
Talk about that and talk about how you split your time, Proxy time up between the different channels.
Okay, sure. So omnichannel marketing is basically spreading your marketing efforts across different marketing channels and having a coordinated story across those channels and meeting the buyers or potential customers where they are. And so at Proxy, we have chosen several different channels to concentrate on for right now. Some of those channels are SEO. We have a PR firm. We are on social. We write our blog. So we're in several different channels at once, and it's all about optimizing those channels and figuring out where the most, where our ideal customer is coming from.
So if you had to look in the future, which one do you think is going to be your number one social media in the future?
Social media of the future?
Yeah.
Okay. Right now, I think for us, it's Instagram. And so Instagram drives not only most of Proxy's organic traffic, but also a lot of our paid traffic. And we're finding that a lot of our high quality customers or map makers are from Instagram. However, in the near term future in Q3, Proxy is expanding to Pinterest as a social media channel. I'm really hopeful about this channel because as you probably know, Pinterest is a discovery channel, a search engine. And so our maps have really searchable content on them, or the content is really searchable. So people will make maps about travel guides, like where to go in certain places around the world, or they'll make, a nonprofit might make a guide of volunteer efforts in a certain area. And so those things are things that people are really interested in searching for. And so I'm really hopeful that Pinterest will help us expand a little bit next quarter.
So I know both you and your CEO have done a great job of like going on podcasts, putting yourself out there, like being like brand ambassadors for the startup. Can you talk about the points of doing that? Because I think a lot of entrepreneurs like it's product, build it and they'll come, or they'll say like, I'm an introvert. I really don't talk in front of people. I'll build on I'll build a market. I'll sell the product and then bring in a marketing person and PR. Can you talk about the points like the early stage, like people in the early team getting out there and just being a brand ambassador, so to speak?
So I've built 2 companies and sold 2 prior ones prior to Proxy. This is the first company that I have gotten a PR firm so early on, and it has been a really not reward, but higher ROI on that spend. The reason is because PR firms already have their expertise is around understanding different demographics and who may be interested in receiving your message. And so it takes all of that guesswork out of, you thinking about all of these different demographics. So they already know what they're doing and they can help you shortcut that.
So talk about making decisions. Most people say don't bring a PR firm until like maybe your A round, B round. All they say, hey, don't bring a PR round because you need to spend your money on, totally like 1,000 different more important things. Talk about why do y'all decide to bring a PR firm so early? Like you're talking about the ROI, all that kind of stuff.
So for us right now, for Proxy, the most important thing is getting as many customers as we can. Mapping is a really hot space right now. And so we have different competitors out there. And what I'm trying to say is it's kind of a land grab. So we're trying to get in front of as many people as possible, in front of as many people as we can, as fast as we can. And so that's where a PR firm is coming in handy for us.
Does the name Proxy mean anything? Is that a random name or is actually some background to it?
So it's a play on the word proximity.
Okay, so I've never thought that in a million years.
Yeah. And so my co-founder Melinda came up with it. I think one of her family members did. And when you're looking at one of our maps, the whole point is that you get this really great local knowledge that's brought out in the map by the map creator, and you can understand where you are in proximity to all of those points. And so that's how we got to Proxy.
So Proxy, the map builder, seems like pretty user-friendly. Can you talk about the points of being user-friendly, how the ties like marketing it, doing sales, making like, hey, this isn't like hard to use. Like, it's pretty intuitive.
Yeah. So we sit in a really unique spot in the mapping world. You either have something like Google My Maps, which is, they call it user-friendly, or you can do something like hire a developer to build on some map APIs to create a map for you. But there's nothing that was customizable and crowdsourceable, and that provided you analytics in between both of those 2 really different ends of the spectrum. And so we knew we were onto something when we started to create this tool, because we were creating something that was so user-friendly. We want it to be so simple for anyone to land on Proxy and create a map and then show their knowledge about a local area on a map.
Is Proxy only United States, or you have it like every
it's around the world? We have global users everywhere today. Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned earlier you have already raised funds. Can you talk some about, the decision, like, maybe rephrase that. What's your advice to like brand new founders on, should they bootstrap, debt equity, the VC funding, and how do you work all that? Because all of them have pros and cons. You have, some people say, don't give your company away, take out a loan. Other people like only fools take out loans, get free money,
it's all over the board.
And none of it easy. Like people say, oh, take a small business loan. Like you got to be almost like a $10 million business, small business loan.
You're right.
And to raise, VC funds, like, it's like a lottery, and even you raise a lottery, raise a VC funds, I think still like only 1% of them even make it, so to speak, so like, can you talk all through that real fast?
Yeah. So I've actually had experience in all three of the different ways to start a company. My first company was bootstrapped. My second company was debt backed, and Proxy is venture funded. And so it really just depends on, I think, a couple of things. One, how quickly you want to be able to grow. So if you do have venture funding, it makes it oftentimes easier for you to grow quicker. And how much ownership you want to keep of your company, and how much, I guess, jurisdiction you want over your day-to-day schedule as well.
So from the three verses you did, do you have a favorite or non-favorite?
They were all really different. So I have to say no. I think working on Proxy has been super exciting because our goal is to compete with Google Maps and Yelp as a way for people to find out where to go and what to do. And so just the prospect of thinking that we could help so many people and change the way that people navigate the world has been a real thrill. But the other two were incredible teachers in my time leading up to Proxy.
So I'm gonna get the stats wrong, but the stats are out there, like, less than 5% or 2% females get funding, right?
Yeah.
The numbers are horrible. Why were y'all successful versus some of the other female founding teams have not been successful?
I think the trick to raising money, as anyone, but definitely when you're female, is having a really tightly crafted story and not being shy about how big you want your company to be, and being able to verbalize that in a really crisp way. And I don't think that's a skill we work on enough as women. I think Melinda and I were really lucky to get into the TechStars program here in Seattle, and we got some amazing mentors in this community, and they taught us how to tighten our story, how to craft it, and how to show it to other people in a way that made sense to get funding.
So this is gonna probably come wrong, but it's like a lot of like females, they have companies, they're like, like Jessica Alba has an honest company, right?
Yes.
So like almost, I hate these are female type companies, but cosmetics,
Yeah.
And it seems like a lot of times when females go like the VCs, they automatically assume it's gonna be like quote unquote female type. But y'all have more like a tech company, right?
It is. Yeah.
So did y'all have to like convince VCs, no, this isn't, like a cosmetics company or like a female type company? You have to know
where you're going.
So no, this is actually a tech company and it's a SaaS company, and think of it differently.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think we had to be really clear in every VC meeting that we go to. We have to establish our credibility right up front. We can't go in usually and knock elbows and take it so casually. We have to establish some credibility before loosening up a little bit. And Melinda, our CEO, my co-founder's background is technical. She was a geospatial tool builder in one of the US intelligence agencies. And then I have, experience building a couple of different businesses and selling them. But whenever we go into these VC rooms with VCs, we have to take our stories really seriously and almost prove ourselves, which can feel a little bit frustrating sometimes.
Yeah, I can definitely understand. And did y'all raise all your money in Seattle or here in the Bay Area, different places?
Yeah, mostly here in Seattle.
And like, you probably don't have the exact number, but can you tell us like how many like average meetings you think you did before you got the yes?
I wish we did keep track of that. That's a really good question. So our round came together quickly, more quickly than most, I'm told. We probably met with between 25 and 30 investors, and we probably came down to maybe 10 that completed our round, something in there. So I think that's incredible stats for that.
It is.
Yeah. So I think our next round, we may have to meet with it probably won't be quite so quick, especially given the economy. But we're really hopeful that we can.
So how do y'all deal with this? Like I like to say, like pitch decks are like resumes, right? If you have a resume,
Yeah.
you send your resume to 25 people, you get 25 different opinions.
Mhm.
You talk to 25 different VCs, you get 25 different opinions. How do you take their advice and integrate it to your pitch deck? Like, how do you know, well, this person might mean good, but I don't know about the advice they're giving me.
Yeah.
How do y'all work through all that kind of stuff?
Okay. So at first, we would go into these VC meetings and take every word, not personally, but very seriously. And so when someone would give us advice, we would drop everything that day, go back and reformat our deck, re-upload it to our data room. It was a whole process. But as we went on and met with more and more people, there are so many different factors that go into how people give you advice. Like maybe the meeting wasn't going quite so well, and then they just kind of stop it and offload all this advice to you. And so you kind of have to sort through the verbose like advice that people will give you and decide whose advice you may take a little bit more seriously than someone else's, and then incorporate what you feel is appropriate. But it has taken us a lot of time to understand who we want to listen to and why.
And how do y'all deal with this? No, people always say, no, don't take it personal. It's just no business.
Mm-hmm.
But like, how do you deal with it? Like someone says, like, basically your baby's ugly. This isn't a good business. Cause like, you're not supposed to take it personal, but it's like, this is my baby. I've worked on this for a long time.
Yeah.
And you're telling me it's a piece of crap. Like, how do y'all deal with that?
Yeah, it can sting a little bit. We had one person early on stop us about 2 minutes into our presentation and say, this is a mom and pop story. And I just stopped the conversation right there and said, well, let's just talk about your weekend then. Like, we don't need to keep going. So a little bit about sensing the room and kind of just changing direction if you need to. But about taking it so personally, you just have to have really thick skin and
like, thank you, sir. May I have another, pretty much.
Yeah. And so I think Melinda would say this too, but of the two of us, I definitely can walk away and just forget about it a little bit. And I've just trained myself that this piece of advice didn't matter. I'm okay with that. People can be harsh, and I know my vision and I know where we want to go. And sometimes she'll hang on to it a little longer, which is normal, right? Like, how can you not? It's your baby.
Yeah, that'd be me.
And so a lot of times we'll have to talk each other out of things like, hey, no, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Let's move on, like pump each other up a little bit.
I know one thing that's frustrating, like pre-COVID, if you saw these pitch competitions in Seattle,
Yeah.
you go to these pitch competitions, right? Like, however long it is. It's like, there's one person in the crowd, like try to play, jump the chump or prove how smart they are than anyone else, right?
Yeah.
And you just know they're not coming from a good place, right? And of course, the entrepreneur has to say, no, thank you for your feedback. I appreciate it, but what they really want to say is like, nothing, not so kind.
Yeah, definitely. We've heard some of that before, and yeah, you're right. Sometimes we have to try to cut it off early and say, thanks for that feedback, but let's move on.
Give us some advice on growing companies since you know such an expert at it.
Oh gosh. So I think the biggest thing is, you can do as much marketing as you want to. And well, I'm the marketing person, so I'm a big proponent, but your product has to be outstanding. And where I'm going with this is people have to talk about your product to each other.
So you're talking about the thing where they say, no, you can't put lipstick on a pig, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right. So you have to have a product that solves a problem, that provides value, that people think about again and again. And when you have that, growth becomes much easier. And so you have to find that product market fit and have people talking about it.
So how y'all deal with this, because marketing, they're doing their thing.
Yep.
The tech people are doing their thing, and sometimes I don't think they match up right. Because market says we need this, like in 2 days so I can sell it.
Yes.
The tech people say, well, that's not our product roadmap. Where's this coming from, So how do y'all sync everything?
That's a great question. So we have a team sync every Monday. And this is the part of our operating rhythm where the marketing team brings forth customer feedback, and we sit with engineering and we all talk about, does the feedback merit changes to the product roadmap? And every quarter we set up, a big goal for the company. Like this last quarter, it was sharing. And next it will be developing accounts and things like this. Well, so we have to marry, customer feedback with our big goals for that quarter as well. So we actually have like a form where the marketing team fills it out and we say, okay, what was the piece of feedback? Who was it from? Kind of determining how much weight it should hold, if that makes sense. How big is this feature in terms of engineering work? How far will it derail the team? And what types of benefits will it give to our customer? Will it benefit our current ideal customer profile? Will it benefit an ideal customer profile in the future? So we have to weigh all of that together.
And how y'all prevent user creep? Because a lot of users have like that feature they want, but it's probably not the best feature for the company growth at the time.
Yeah. I think all of us at Proxy are from major tech companies. And so we're hyper aware of scope creep, and we try not to let it happen. I know that may not be totally valuable advice, but we're very conscious about it. And we make sure that, someone might have a really good piece of feedback, but we can put it in the roadmap for the future or put it in a backlog, make sure we hold on to it. But that doesn't mean we need to act on it right now.
So several part question, like for people not know, need to learn, like what is product market fit? How do you even get there? Like, how do you even know you have product market fit? Like,
I think you'll just know.
That's what everyone
Yes.
says, but what if someone is like stubborn, like the numbers aren't in, but I just know the market needs this. Like, how do you make someone, like, no, it's not product market fit? Everyone says what someone say, like, and plus you'll get so many customers you can't keep up.
Exactly. Yep. So when you reach product market fit, it means you found the exact or the right customer profile that you're marketing to, and that you're solving a problem that they have. You'll know because your growth numbers will shoot up. You'll know because people can't stop recommending it to one another. It will become almost a buzz, if you will. And I think I know that's tough, but I think when you've gotten there, people want to pay you for what you're giving them, even if it's free. Like for what we have people coming to us all the time saying, I want to pay you anyway. How can I send me an invoice? And we're like, well, we're pre-revenue right now, but we'll work on that.
We're not going to say no.
Exactly. So, people will become super fans whenever you get product market fit. And I strongly believe that you have to have a product to have product market fit.
So you have to have MVP.
You have to have something out in the world. I don't know that you can tell someone that you've had product market fit if it's just an idea and you've talked to some people who say it might work.
I mean, that's just idea validation, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you've got to have that MVP out in the world.
You got to do beta testing, all that kind of stuff.
Beta testing. And who knows, you may have product market fit when you've got your beta out there. Either way, if it's a beta or a live product, I think you'll know when you have product market fit. It'll feel the same in whatever product stage that you're in.
How long should somebody work on product market fit? Like, should they stop saying, no, we're doing this for 6 months, we haven't product market fit, we need to go back to the drawing board, so to speak? How long should like focus on like product market fit before they say, okay, we have it, or man, we don't, let's go back to the drawing board?
It's funny because I was just reading about this morning. The problem here is that you can't give up too early, but there's a fine line between waiting too long too. I think you have to stay. Let's see. How do we talk about this? You probably have to get your product out there in enough different marketing channels with enough different experimentation in those channels with statistically relevant numbers before I think you could ultimately give up. So I would say, product market fit, well, kind of rambling here. Product market fit is probably a combination of both the actual product and your marketing efforts for that company. And so I think you have to test both things, experiment with both things and test both. So you're going to need to alter your product a little bit here and there in order to try to find product market fit, and also change your marketing up and try different channels and experiment to find product market fit. I think when you have a combination of the product and the marketing that's going well, then you'll know that you're experiencing the right type of growth.
So you talked about this earlier when you talked about the user feedback, but how do y'all do your product roadmap?
Yeah. So we actually, like, what tools do we do it in, or like how do we sit together?
Everything,
all of it.
everything,
Okay.
all of it, yeah,
So
all
we
the
have-
above.
That's great. So we have a quarterly planning meeting where my entire team, everyone at Proxy, contractors included, we all sit down and we talk about, first of all, we recenter on the long-term vision. So where do we want to be in 5 years, 10 years? And then work our way back from that. And, as we get older as a company, those conversations become a little bit quicker because the 5 and 10-year visions never, don't change, but we still recenter on those every quarter and then work our way backwards. So, as we're working our way backwards, we come down to like a year view and then a quarterly view. We have our all up team meeting once per quarter for an extended amount of time. We call it an offsite. And we all sit together and work our way all the way back from the 10-year view to like the quarter view. And then we sit down as engineering team and like the operations and marketing side of the houses. And we kind of have a brainstorm on how are we going to make that quarterly goal happen. And then we turn back around to the team and we sync on all of those goals. And we kind of suss through them, if that makes sense, because there are some good ideas and bad ideas, but it's a brainstorm. So it's all part of the process. But we narrow in on the, top X goals that need to happen, maybe 5 or 10 for the quarter to make our dreams become a reality. And then we at the end of that meeting, we have a plan for the quarter. And we've been doing that for 2 quarters now. And I'm happy to say that it's been a really great process. Then we turn around and we take those goals and put them into Notion. If you've worked in that tool before, it's a really great way to visualize your goals and keep track of everything, assign dates, people who need to do certain action items. And then even more tactically, every week we have a quick staff meeting or team meeting, whatever you want to call it, where the entire Proxy team sits together and we walk through what's been done for the week, what's on deck for the coming week. We sort out what might be an issue, what may not be able to fit in the next sprint, so to speak, and go from there.
So next step about this is what I call like unsexy stuff. Like, you have to do the taxes, the admin stuff, the bookkeeping, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How do y'all deal with that?
Mm-hmm. That's me.
That's you. That's all you. The unsexy stuff.
Yeah. And we have an awesome teammate named Lacey who works on some of this as well. Both she and I have run different smaller businesses in the past. So we have a pretty good idea of operationally what needs to happen, accounting, finance, tax wise, and then just operations, like different legal requirements or contracts that need to be signed. And so she and I will sit down and just make sure that we've kind of got all that mapped out in Notion as well, just like the rest of our goals. Okay. So we treat it very systematically.
So let's talk about this. Like, startups are not easy, they're difficult. And I think a lot of startup founders underestimate how hard it is to get people to come work for them, right? Because first of all, you got to sell your vision. You got to convince someone, hey, especially your pre-seed, pre-revenue, hey, come work for me for free for like 6 months or a year. A lot of times you got funding. And then I like to say, even if you tell someone, hey, I'm gonna give you X amount of equity in the company, right? I mean, to me, that's the same as telling someone, hey, the pot of gold, the rainbow is yours, right? It's probably not gonna happen, right? And I know y'all just brought on, I think, a director of engineering for Facebook.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it has to be a great hire, big hire for y'all.
It was.
Like, how do you convince someone from a Facebook, they have to probably get paid like $10 million an hour, right? Some crazy amount of money at Facebook.
A lot,
yes. To quit that, and then I'm sure you're paying them now because y'all got funding, but I'm guessing not as much as Facebook. Like, how do you have a conversation? Hey, here's our vision, here's our dream, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So we sat down with Maddie, our amazing director of engineering. She was from Facebook. And we talked all about how Melinda and I wanted to impact the world in, 2, 5,
so big
10
picture,
years.
big vision.
Really big picture. And we haven't talked about that too much, but we're really convicted about how we can try to help impact the way that local knowledge is displayed and how people navigate the world. And when we told her our idea and sat down with her for a prolonged couple of hours, she was immediately understood the concept, immediately understood how we wanted to make this impact. But we knew we had her interested when she texted us, the next morning and said, "Hey, I stayed up all night thinking about this idea." And that's how Melinda and I are too, even to this, months and months and years in working on this product, where we just get so excited about it. So we sold her on the vision, and then we talked to her about what she wanted to see out of her own career a little bit and tried to match that up with what we had available.
So many people don't do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yes. I'm telling you, so many people don't do that. There's like they hire someone and it's just worked for me for 25 years. No professional growth. Yeah.
Oh, no. Oh my goodness. I just had never thought about that. So in every business I've run, I've made sure that all of my leadership team, the job or the literal responsibilities that they're going to be doing on the daily at least contribute to where they want to go in the long term.
You'd be surprised. Like my pet peeve, like so many people, like they'll quit a job and the boss be like, "Hey, Jason, you're just loyal. Why you do this for me?" Right. My thing is like, if your person lets to have a better paying job, a better job, like suppose someone's a senior developer for you and they let you be a CTO at a startup.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great thing, right?
Yep.
But so many people don't think like that.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. You did it from doing right. At least my opinion. Yeah.
So we definitely made sure that her roles align with what she viewed of herself in the future. And, even if Proxy didn't work out, which I think I have every reason to believe that it will, but that she would be making a forward movement in her career and that we could support her in the direction that she wanted to go. So I think that was really important. And then, we had to talk to her about equity versus cash and provide some options on the choice that she could make between the distribution of the two. And, you can only afford to do that as a startup with a couple of employees. Yeah. And so we had to make a smart bet that this would work out, that we were willing to go on the line for this one. And we made the right choice. She's amazing. But I think that helped as well when we were bringing her on board. Have some autonomy in that compensation package.
Yes. And I'm guessing you plan like bringing on more employees pretty soon and have like a lot of fast growth pretty soon.
Probably after the next raise. Okay. We have a pretty robust team of not only full-time folks, but also folks in the Philippines that help us scale. And so we feel strongly that we don't need to hire until our next raise. But yes, we will be making hires as soon as we raise again.
So let's talk about the fantasy of being an entrepreneur, right? Like the numbers out there, everyone fails, only 10%. What did the numbers say? And everyone's like, "Oh no, I'm not going to fail." I mean, why? I mean, of course it's good and bad, right? It's good to have the fantasy of sorts because you got to have the belief and, why work the long hours and everything you have to believe. But then again, it's kind of productive because like if you spend 3, 4, or 5 years on a startup, it fails. I mean, like how long it is, like that's 5 years. You could be working at Amazon, 5 years doing something else. So that's a cost benefit too, right? Like, so why? I mean, not you personally. Like, why do you like? I was on a podcast a month ago or last week. I said, "Hey, it is almost like if you're an entrepreneur, you got to take a mental health test, right? Because like you got to be kind of crazy to do this, right?
You have to be a little bit.
You have to be a little crazy, right?
Yep.
So just talk about being in the fantasy world, so to speak, having a belief. Like maybe you talk to like 50 investors, all they say no, but you keep on going and going, right? Like that resilience you have to have.
Yeah. Well, you're absolutely right to a certain extent. It's a little bit crazy. If you're an entrepreneur, you have to have a bit of an edge. But I think for me, it's kind of in my blood. I've had a business going since I was maybe 5 or 6 years old, and I've always had this really constant belief that I could build something that would impact people in some way, no matter what business it is. And so I think it's all about that belief that you can impact people's lives and that you can make your own life exponentially better as well, or at least there's that potential,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Like there's incredible risk involved, but.
Who are some marketing people that you follow?
Okay. Amy Porterfield and Emily Hirsch are probably my top two favorites. They are more, I want to say, like on the whole the digital course or like soft skills, like part of the internet. But they also have all of these pieces of advice that will apply to any business. And they've given me a lot of, they kind of fuel my fire in terms of investigation.
So what do you do for fun?
Oh no. So I'm probably a major weirdo and I love working on whatever business I'm working on, and I'll do that
So that's
all day long. But if I okay, let's be real though. So I'll go on jogs, or I have two little kids right now. So they're 4 and 2. And so a lot of my free time gets dedicated to them. But aside from that, I love being outside, being physical, hanging out with my friends.
And so how do you take care of yourself? Like, how do you make sure your wellness is like you don't burn out, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, definitely. So I work out for a minimum of 30 minutes every day. So whether that's a strength workout or a cardio workout, it may extend all the way to an hour. But as long as I get that 30-minute physical activity in, I feel pretty good. Also, as I've gotten just a little bit older, I have been concentrating more on a healthy intake, like a healthy diet, and that has helped immensely. So just in terms of like energy and feeling good about my workouts and just being a present human being, whether it's here or with my kids or when I'm in the office. Those things really contribute. Oh, and then I've been on a major kick to sleep 8 hours a night, which is kind of incredible. So for most of my career, until maybe about a year ago, I was only sleeping like 5 hours a night since I was in university, just because you can allow work to take up as much time as you want it to. But then upon listening to podcasts about health and reading about health, like sleep is just the end all be all in terms of your longevity. So I decided that had to become a priority.
Definitely. So going back to director of engineering, like how do y'all decide like to target her, so to speak, right? Why do y'all go after her versus like other people you could have went after?
So she was a referral, which means a lot. You have to trust someone. And so we probably placed the highest amount of relevancy on the fact that she was a referral and that people knew the quality of her work, knew the quality of her leadership capabilities. And so that's how we came across her.
So no, as an entrepreneur, the CEO, you probably have like I'll make this like, suppose you have a list of 100 things to do tomorrow. Like, how do you make sure you do 1, 2, 3 versus jumping to number 95?
Yeah, well, I do just that. I write down my top 3 priorities, but that is really hard to sort through.
Very hard.
It's really hard. So back to Notion, I have our marketing and ops roadmap in Notion for the quarter. And then I break it down by month. And then I prioritize that list by month. And so I know as chunks of free time come open, I go straight to the top of that list to pull the next item off. I've got to say that there are probably 30 items on my list for June. 7 are in progress right now. Maybe 2 are completed. What day are we on? We're early June, so doing okay. And then the rest are not started yet. But as I get chunks of time, every day I'll pull forward the next project and at least make sure to get it started.
So now on Proxy's LinkedIn page, you have like, I think like 2 or 3 interns working for y'all.
Yeah.
Can you talk about why you decided to bring interns and what they bring to your company?
Oh, absolutely. They bring so much energy, a fresh perspective. That goes both ways. Like we have to teach a little bit too.
Like slow down a little bit, young buck.
Yes. Yeah.
You're not the CEO.
Good thoughts, but you're not the CEO. Yeah. And so sometimes we'll have to slow them down a little, or just make sure that their priority list or that their list of things to do is prioritized, and that they understand the deliverables that they need to work toward. But overall, they've been really incredible assets to our company. So we've had one software developer intern. She's from the University of Washington and just outstanding. Now, no one poach her. Okay, she's ours. She actually agreed to work full time for us this summer, and she's part time for us throughout the year, which is an incredible arrangement. She's grown a lot this year. Been really good for us. Then we also had a GIS major, and she was also just fantastic for us. She brought a little more depth to our to like article writing about GIS. It's just not something I have a lot of time to take on, and neither does my co-founder. And so she was able to dedicate quite a bit of her time to writing articles for us about GIS.
So next, talk about the term growth hacker, because I think growth hacker, some people are like really negative about it, some real positive. What does that really mean? What is a growth hacker? Is it positive, negative, or?
I'm trying to figure that out myself. So, I think it's positive. I think growth hacking is all about experimentation, and that's something we're really passionate about at Proxy, and that I'm really passionate about myself. So I think on the whole, I would view it positively, but as long as you have structure to the hacking. And I think people can get carried away with, if you do get funded, there are a million different ways you could spend your money, and you could kind of go haywire spending your money in all these different ways to get new customers. But it's all about having an educated hypothesis on what you're going to get out of that investment, what type of, how many, what kind of customers you're going to get, and then revising the plan if it doesn't work out.
That's another good point. Talk about how y'all decide how to spend money. Like me, make mistake in the past. I'll like, okay, I really don't need this platform, but it's 50% off for 6 months. I'm sure I've used it in a couple of months. 6 months come, I've never used it. I've quote unquote wasted all the money, right? And everything's like, $10, $15, $20 a month,
Yeah.
But it adds up. It's a lot of stuff. Oh man, what am I doing? I didn't know I had that right. So tell me about the process of like deciding what to spend money on, what to spend money on.
So I have a finance background, and so does one of our employees. And we're big on fiduciary duty and making sure that we spend our money super wisely. So first of all, for subscriptions, we have calendar notices that come up every month around the time when you can back out of them.
That's smart.
Yeah. And so every time we sign up, it's a company policy that you put on a calendar invite to applicable parties that says like, hey, we need to reevaluate this subscription on this day. And if it's not really doing us good, then we need to back out. And if it's, an obvious benefit to us, we can just ignore the calendar invite and keep moving. So every month we review budget to actuals, we review our forecast, revise the forecast, how we want to spend the money moving forward, and what would be the most valuable. So it's actually kind of an in-depth.
Yeah,
we spend a chunk of time on it.
Y'all have a system for it. Most people don't.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I think that probably comes from my last business I ran was this local services business. And it was landscape installation here in the Seattle area. And that is an incredibly cash-driven business. You owe your employees a lot of money. You owe vendors a lot of money. You have to buy a lot of equipment and materials. And so I think I'm pretty focused on finances after that experience, because you have to make sure that the AR and the AP work out, and it can really be difficult.
Can you talk some more about your own entrepreneur journey, and especially how you went from corporate to startup world, and how that whole thing worked for you?
I can. Yeah. So I'll kind of start way back when. I've had the entrepreneurial bug forever. As I mentioned, I had a pretty robust like pet sitting business when I was a kid. I saved up a lot of money, and then had a pretty robust swim lesson business when I was a teenager. And I think those two experiences still play into my journey today, because it gave me that itch. Like I can help someone with a problem, and I can make money doing it. And that's just an incredible experience. So when I was in college, I majored in finance at Texas A&M University. And after school, I went to work for Bank of America in finance at their corporate headquarters in Charlotte, North Carolina. Quite an experience. It's a long story, but for personal reasons, I ended up out here in Seattle. And I ended up working for Boeing in financial planning and analysis. But early on in my professional career, I was nurturing a little business that I had started senior year of college. And that business was called Select a Sis, like select a sister. I know, you can laugh now. But it was a sorority recruitment software. We ended up working with more than half the sororities in the country before we sold. And so that started senior year of college, and it extended until my mid to late 20s before I sold it. There ended up being 5 of us working on it in the end, but we were able to work on it after our corporate jobs because so much of the process was automated. The product itself was an amazing solution for the problem at hand. And word of mouth, talk about product market fit. It was the slam dunk. And so a lot of our work just didn't take that long in terms of like actual hours spent. So I worked on that business just in the evenings for many years. But that was a great experience. I did everything from accounting to marketing to sales to customer service and traveling a little bit for conferences to support that product. And then other people were working on the tech side of it.
So how do y'all do this? No, it's not like everywhere an entrepreneur or founder, people will say marketing is most important, products most important, sales most important, tech's most important. Like, how do you decide day to day what to focus on? What's your priority day to day? Or you just flip a coin and or you just pick random numbers out and go with it?
It's somewhere in between those two statements. So there will be periods in business where you have a little bit of extra time and you can kind of create those prioritized lists for every different work stream, like tech, marketing, ops, like here are the next 10 things each thing needs to do to move the business forward. I'm really big on working on the business, not in the business. My co-founder will tell you that my least favorite thing to do is emails. I just feel like it's working in, pushing around paper. It's not like taking a huge boulder and moving it up the hill. I mean, emails will help you get there, but you know what I'm saying.
Yes, exactly.
So I think founders and anyone in any business doing anything needs to be really careful about working in versus on the business. And so that's how I view prioritization, I think is what I'm trying to say. I'm really conscious about making sure we're moving the ball forward instead of just pushing paper.
So suppose someone's out there, they're like, man, here's this problem, I want to solve it. But they've done nothing else. They have no team, no part of market, or just have an idea they want to solve, right? What advice do you have for them?
I think the very first thing is building your MVP. Just don't do anything else until you have your MVP. Don't go set up a business legally. Don't go get an accountant or a lawyer or anything, in my opinion. Make your MVP and see if you can get people using it, or if your ideal customer profile will even want to use it. That has got to be the first step. So I would say first get the product out there. If you've got one person working on product and then you have another person available, that person should be describing the product to people, seeing who may be the most interested. But I've seen too many people do the whole rigmarole first, set up a website, start grabbing a PR firm, doing everything out of order, but you really have got to have that MVP working before you can move forward.
Can you talk about y'all's experience with Techstars? It was Techstars Seattle, right?
It was, yeah. It was fantastic.
You just graduated from the recent class? You did it like
we
a
did.
year? Okay.
Yeah, we graduated in late Jan, early February.
It's like 3 months long, right?
It was, yeah. It was about 12-ish weeks. We were connected to, well, first of all, there were many workshops about how to start and run a business. Now, some of that I personally already knew, but a lot of the people in Techstars hadn't built a business before. And so that was some really valuable content. Like I could see light bulbs going off all around the room, which is a great experience. And then we got connected to mentors in the Seattle area and beyond, which was incredible. So those are both mentors in terms of business leadership in the area or investor mentors. And then finally, we were taught how to build a pitch deck, how to pitch. That is a whole experience. And then how to speak and conduct investor meetings and how to follow up with people and how to really create that pipeline and work through it over time.
So you talked earlier about making sure like your employees like professionally developed, career path.
Mm-hmm.
How you making sure you're doing it for yourself and Melinda?
That's a really good question. And maybe we have forgotten ourselves a little bit there.
Like when Melinda, for example, she has to go from being a CEO of a startup with 5 people, hopefully a CEO will become maybe 300-400 people, right?
Right. So we're always asking questions. I think both of us, we have a really strong set of mentors, and we've never shied away from saying, okay, we have a gap in this area. We need to go find someone who knows about this. So I think in terms of business development and figuring out how to run a business, both of us are always probing for who knows how to do it best and can they teach us how to do it. I think in terms of professional development, we haven't explicitly talked about that too much, she and I. However, for me, I can't answer for her, but for me personally, I know that every day, as long as I wake up and think, holy cow, I don't know how to do this next thing, then I'm being challenged enough. And that's where I'm the most happy. So there's not one day that's gone by where I haven't thought, oh, I know how to do everything on my to-do list today. So
who's y'all's quote unquote perfect customer?
Okay. So the perfect customer is like a branch of the Hilton. So, and it would be the front desk at the Hilton more specifically. Let me tell you why. So anyone can come to Proxy, any business or individual can come to our site and create a free, interactive, customizable map. So the way that Hilton would use this is for their guests, and especially at the front desk. When you get hungry and you're at a hotel, you run downstairs and you're like, A, how do I get out of the front door? I forget how I came in. B, where am I going when I turn out the front door and I'm hungry? And usually you're on foot and you need some expertise about what's in the local area. Well, of course, not the people at the front desk probably live in the area, and they probably have built up relationships with businesses in the area in terms of referral. And so whenever whenever Proxy comes in handy, so the front desk will develop a map. Let's say it's Hilton in Seattle. They'll develop a map of Seattle. They'll mark the Hilton where people are staying. They may highlight that map point, and then they'll highlight everything that they recommend, like restaurants or activities or major landmarks in the Seattle area. And then they can write as much as they want to in those descriptions for each of the places, provide pictures, soon to be video, soon to be date time. So there are a lot of things that are coming down the pipeline for that. Now, and then another couple of reasons why Hilton is an ideal customer is because they probably want to white label whatever they're handing out to people. So when they hand out a map, the way that they're doing it now is it's a printed PDF map, and it's branded per the Hilton, looks all nice, and it's branded just for them. So our maps can be branded just for whatever business. You'll never know it's a Proxy map. We don't want any credit for that. It's their technology and their experience that they're giving to customers. The next thing is that we provide analytics to businesses, which is incredibly important as we help them understand people converting on their recommendations. So Hilton may want to know, I recommended, I gave this map to 100 people. How many converted to XYZ restaurant? Did they actually go there? And so we're providing them that information, which is an incredible, as they develop business relationships.
And so Hilton will be the one who would pay for it then?
Yeah. But they don't today. But that would be the idea that different, the number of seats as like Hilton, if they have 100 people using it, you pay per seat or something like this. But additionally, what we're trying to solve here is because we have such strong analytics on location-based conversion, is allowing our map makers to make money from having the maps too. So just like a product influencer today can make money on recommending physical products via apps like to Know It or Amazon affiliate links, there's no really great way for people to make money on their location-based recommendations. And that's where Proxy sees part of our business operating in the future, is solving for that problem as well.
Can this happen? And maybe it can, maybe it can't. Like, suppose you have 2 restaurants, an Italian and a French restaurant.
Yep.
can a Italian restaurant go to someone and say, hey, I'll pay you X amount of dollars to put me on your map. And on top of that, even more money to keep this French restaurant off the map.
Oh, well, we haven't ever received that part of the question before, but if they negotiate a deal with the map maker outside of Proxy, then sure.
That's between them and the map maker.
That is, but in the future, we would facilitate sponsorship agreements and things like that through a checkout process in the platform.
I guess y'all get a percentage of that then, right?
Eventually we would.
Okay. So how long has the Proxy been in business, so to speak?
We've been full-time since October of last year. I sold my business and Melinda dropped out of her PhD program to work on it. We've worked on it part-time since October 2020.
And the progress you've made, you think y'all like progress made where you think should be at? You think behind schedule, ahead of schedule?
Oh, I think we're okay. I think we're doing really well. Maddie, our new director of engineering, has been incredibly speedy in terms of getting things done. We also have a couple of contract engineers as well. And so she's been fantastic in terms of assigning tasks, understanding what blockers are, and moving that product roadmap along as fast as possible. This summer, later this year, we'll be rolling out an app to make maps discoverable. And so what I mean by that is Hilton could make their map public. King 5 can make their map public. A local content creator can make their map public. And hell, Jason, you can even make your map public. And so you'll have, in all of these map views will definitely refer people back to the map creator and allow the map creator to, link out to their other platforms if they want to. But anyway, it'll be a tool where people can land in Seattle or wherever and see all of these maps that people have created of the area, and then choose based on either the title of the map or the map creator themselves, which maps they want to be looking at. So I might trust a local hike, some influencer who loves to hike, and I'm going to trust their map about hiking rather than some Google search about trailheads.
Yeah, exactly.
Versus like foodie, like we might be traveling
some local
to
Instagram foodie in Austin. Yeah.
Yeah, like you're gonna trust their recommendations over like just Googling restaurants near me or Yelping restaurants near me. And so by allowing people to layer maps of people that they trust and saving map points, kind of like Pinterest, from people that
I definitely
trust.
see the Pinterest thing. Yeah,
it's a lot like Pinterest. So you can create your own guide to the area. Eventually we'll have like a checklist of, you've gotten through all of the places you've wanted to go in a certain area. But we're really excited about how to help people navigate the world in a way that's different than Google Maps or Yelp, in the sense that it's not ads first, if that makes sense.
So how do you do this? Some entrepreneurs, they say they work 100 hours a week, some work 9 to 5, some do different things,
Yeah.
Some don't take any days off. So what do you do? Like, do you work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day? Do you take weekends off? Do you take 1 day a week off? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah. So I have 2 little kids, and so they have to be they're my priority. And that is a major life switch for me. I used to work minimum 12-hour day, like minimum 12-hour days, easy. And I loved it. And I wasn't tired, and I was excited, and there was no problem. But now I definitely have to take most of the weekend off. I will tell you that I work every single day of the week in some capacity, though. In Monday through Friday, obviously 9 to 5, and then again after they go to bed.
So talk about this. The stereotype is, the 3 white male, college dropouts from Stanford, start a company, right? Like, talk about the challenge. Like you said, you have a family, right? Talk about the challenge. Like, you're all in with the company, but not really, right? You have family, other priorities, right?
Right.
Talk about that. Another thing that people don't talk about either, like life still goes on, right? Like, hopefully people are still washing clothes, hopefully people are still getting the oil change, like you still got to do life,
all right. So I can tell you these things. So, I will say first and foremost that I have a lot of help, and I forget who I first heard this from. I think from a woman named Jenna Kutcher, who's someone else I listen to a lot in the marketing world. But she said that a lot of times these famous people like Joanna Gaines or like other women who women might look up to never talk about the help that they have. And so she makes it a priority to recognize the help, because if you are running I don't want to say successful, but if you're running a business that is making larger impact, then you will need help in terms of time. So we do happen to have people that clean our house, and we do happen to have someone that mows our lawn. And yes, I still fold the laundry and do the dishes and vacuum every day, still do a lot of those littler tasks, but we do have help in meaningful ways in our life. We have an amazing nanny who is at home with my kids and keeping them happy and healthy during the day. And so there's no doubt about it. I don't think anyone could work at this level without help.
Yeah, I agree. So next question. Well, you already talked about the sum, but can you go like more detail, like how the company got started, what you focus on now, and what your like big term version is it for going forward?
So we started back in October of 2020. And if everyone can remember, that was still during the pandemic.
Something happened then.
Something that we don't want to talk about was happening. And so if you're a parent out there, you know that parents are real crazy about giving their kids really nice holiday experiences. And so it was Halloween of 2020 when Proxy started. And my co-founder was in a Facebook group here in Seattle for parents. And one of the parents said, hey, if you are doing COVID safe trick-or-treating, i.e. you're leaving out a bowl of candy, or you're doing trick-or-treating through these things called candy chutes, like pipes where you send candy down, then you should leave your address in a comment here on the Facebook group. And so hundreds of people were leaving their addresses in this Facebook post. Well, my co-founder, who has this experience in geospatial tool building, was looking at these addresses like, this doesn't make any sense. What are you going to do as a parent? Type in the first address, take your kid there, and then look at the second address, only to find out that the third is right next to the first. Like this, it's not visualized, right? And so she took some steps to get these addresses onto a map to help people understand how many were in a row and how many, just different areas of the neighborhood where you could go trick-or-treating and hit a volume of homes. And then she made it to where she strung together a couple of different existing tools on the marketplace and made it so that people could add their homes to the map. And so people were adding their homes to the map. And it took off. 2,500 homes added themselves to the map here in Seattle, and we were on Good Morning America.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was incredible, right? It was like this mom saves Halloween story. But she and I have been friends for about 10 years since our undergrad time at Texas A&M. And we both moved up here for separate reasons and had stayed in touch, and had worked on different things together. But she called me up knowing that I had built a couple of businesses and was like, Chelsey, I think something is going on here. Like, what do you think about it? And the more and more we continued to probe into this area of mapping and looking at what else is provided in the marketplace, the more we kept finding gaps.
The light bulbs start going off on.
Oh my goodness. So, the first thing that we found out was that one of our main features didn't exist anywhere else. And that feature is crowdsourcing maps. And so that's one of our main features today still, is that crowdsourcing feature. And then we just continued to build out features as we continued to get more customers. Like King 5 ended up using us to map out Best of Western Washington awards, and Curiosity, which is a news publication, has used us to, map out 10 things to do this weekend, or your guide to X region, or things like this. And as we continued to work with those partners over time, we discovered more features that needed to be added on, which is how we ended up coming to things like location-based conversion and affiliate links for location-based conversion as well. So yeah, that's what led us into our current product. And we have 4,000-ish maps in the market today, and we're growing kind of exponentially each month, which is really exciting. In near term, we are launching our app to make maps discoverable, to where you can layer your maps, save different points on maps, create like playlists of you, if you will, of places to go.
So we're laying a map on it. Like suppose you have a map
Yeah.
And I want to lay my map on yours.
Yep.
Do you have to give me permission? Can you say, no, I don't want Jason's map on mine?
No, because it would just be in your app. Like
Okay.
I would never know that you
Okay.
layered my map as
Okay.
long as I made it public in the first place. So
Okay.
you'll have to mark your map as public, of course,
Okay.
before they'll be provided to the masses. But,
Okay.
yeah. So, and then, in the longer term, how do we personalize recommendations about where to go as we evolve our product? Because presumably we'll have millions of people on the platform and we'll be able to understand from all of this data that we're collecting, what Jason's really into versus what Chelsey is really into. And hopefully we can help you navigate your world in a more personalized way in the future. And even in the longer term, how do we use like AR to integrate with mapping and
I definitely see that. I
walking
definitely see y'all doing that in the future. Yeah.
Yes. And there's some really cool features, maybe not AR, but like inventory integration.
Like actually like an AR VR personal assistant. Hey, Jason, follow this path, go here for this, go here for that.
We know that your schedule on your calendar says you're going from home to work, but we also know that you need groceries or, and here are the top places to stop on your way and in between the places you're already going. So, or like if you're traveling to a new place, what are your interests and how can we help you better understand where to go? But the crux of this whole thing, we think, is about local knowledge and exposing local knowledge to the masses too. So even if we are showing you cool places to go in like Maui based on your interests, the idea is that we would be pulling this information from user data that was input, because people know more about physical, it's called volunteer geographic information. People will put what they know about the real world on a map, but how do we take that data and show it to you in a way that makes sense? And it's more than just ads, because, some mom and pop shop may not even be on the internet, right? So it takes a community to really expose the knowledge.
And did you say earlier that you're in 16 states right now?
We're global.
Mm-hmm. So like someone from Dallas, Texas, and go on the map. So it's not like you have to go to each location, and show people stuff. It's like they just join.
Well, so let me paint. Sorry, that was fairly unclear. So right now, our product is a map making technology. Anyone from anywhere can go make a map about anywhere in the whole world, and we do have maps going on in crazy locations. In the future will be a place where you can come and discover other people's maps. So that's our transition. Right now, we're just a map creating, not just. It's a pretty powerful tool to create customizable maps on.
Yes. Next. So being an entrepreneur is not easy, right? And how old are your kids again?
4 and 2.
4 and 2.
Little, yeah.
They're little. Okay. So one thing, if they're a little older, just the role model you being for them, right? There's more to the war than working on a fire, right? Think about how do you want to be a role model for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I want them to know first and foremost that they can set out to accomplish anything that they set their minds to. So they can come up with a dream or follow a pre-made path if they wish, but as long as they're wanting to do something, that they can put in the hard work and the effort to go make that happen. And that hard work and effort are not mutually exclusive to the amount of love you can show someone. Or for instance, like when I think about staying home versus, being in the workplace, I don't think that's a mutually exclusive thing. I can show my kids that I love them immensely, but I also want to go accomplish my dreams. And I don't think it's an and or an or statement.
Yeah,
I think
it's an and statement. Yeah.
And so I work really hard to show them that you can do both, and you can show your family love and have things going on outside of the workplace. So I'll tell them I'm going to book club tonight, or I'm going to go take a run, and that's really important for my mental and physical health, and it will be for you too. So I try to show them these different facets of life, and that if you put your mind to it and you manage yourself well, that you can have it all, so to speak. I mean, they're really hard days, but
And so you already completed your beta testing, right?
yeah, we did.
Can you talk about how you set it up, the challenges of doing it? Like, do you just reach out to random people? Was it people you already knew? Like, talk about the beta testing.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So our MVP was in action for about a year or so, from just after Halloween 2020 to until like the next August-ish of the next year. And how did we get customers? Of course, family and friends. There's no doubt about it. Individuals can use our maps, and they were using our maps. And we got lots of feedback from them about things that didn't make sense, things that did make sense, what they would want to see in a customized, personalized map. Now, in terms of businesses using our map, that was a little bit trickier to get beta testers. So we would use language like, we're a new company here, we're conducting pilots.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't know what beta test it is, right?
Yeah. So we haven't really used that word publicly very much, but we'll just say like, hey, we're piloting this program, or
That's a good word to use, piloting. Yeah.
Yep. And then we say like, in exchange for getting this product for free, we would love your feedback. And then we structure our feedback as much as we can in a succinct way. So that was how we handled beta testing. And I got to tell you that we never publicly messaged that it was in beta.
Okay.
We just said, here's our product. And of course we knew that it wasn't what we wanted it to be eventually. There's a million things that we have since improved and will improve. But I think that goes back to our conversation earlier about just getting your MVP out in the world and just acting like it's here to serve, and tell me what, give us your suggestions.
So how do y'all do this? Like, so many founders, it's not ready yet, it's not perfect yet, and they miss all their feedback, right? People say, if you have something, if it's crap, put it out there and learn, right?
Yep.
So what's the advice you have for like people? Hey, put the ugly duckling out there. It's only going to get more beautiful.
You just have to do it. And it's that way for both your product and your initial marketing, like your website, your initial emails to people. Internally, we talk about all the time, even today, this isn't what we want it to look like in a year from now, but we still have to move forward. Like, we still have to put this email campaign out, or we still have to put this piece of the product out. So I think it's all about just saying done is better than perfect, and pushing it out there. Now, you can't put out complete crap. People will readily call you out when you do. But if you can put out, just something, then people are very forgiving especially if they know they're piloting something for you.
Next, let's talk about design. I think a lot of startup founders, like, they totally ignore design, right? Or don't want to do it. Like talk about your design process. Like, why do you pick the colors you did? And first of all, like I say all the time, like,
sure.
Before I started, I had no idea, like, there was like numbers that colors, like the RBX numbers, you want to call it, right? Like, I didn't know it was like 20,000 blues and 20,000 fonts.
Yeah.
Like, I had no idea if you put this button here and click pink, get more clicks versus over here.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how y'all walk through all that?
Oh my goodness. Sure. So in terms of product design, I won't say too much there. My co-founder was actually getting her PhD in the Human-Centered Design program here at University of Washington. So she kind of has the product design part covered. She knows all about user testing and usability when it comes to like where to put buttons and where to put header. She's kind of an expert on the product side of things. But in terms of marketing and all of this, in the branding itself, Melinda and I had many, many late nights in between October 2020 and summer of last year. We would like put out a page on our website, and we would be on a Zoom call. She is a young child as well. So we would just be sitting there after their bedtime, like, okay, change that button color to navy blue. No, change that font, redo that sentence. And so we would just sit there together virtually, like redoing everything that we had outward facing over and over again, like an unexplainable number of times. And the same for our pitch deck. So basically we just picked fonts, colors, schemes that we thought looked right at first. And then sometime late last year, probably after we got funding from Techstars, we hired a branding person. She did our logo, she did our initial color scheme, she did our initial, they give you like stock imagery to use and like give you that look and feel. And so we implemented hers, and now we're about to hire someone a little more senior to her, even to redo it again for us. We've recently hired a copywriter who specializes in having like a strong brand voice to help us redo all of our outward communications as well. So it's been a long process, and every day, if you, not that anyone would come to our site every day, but if you do, you'll notice something probably different every day because we're always changing. And now it's a little more scientific. Like we have mouse flow installed, for instance, on our website to understand, is it called flow? A tool to understand where people are clicking on our website. So we'll change button colors, we'll change fonts, we'll change headers just to see where people will click. So it's getting more scientific and more elevated, if you will, in terms of look, feel, voice, things like that.
So you talked earlier, like, you'll probably do some more hiring after your next fundraising.
Yeah.
Like how you going to decide like who to hire? Like,
I know.
What should be number 6, number 7, number 8? Like, do you need like 3 iOS app developers, 6, 7, 8? Like, how do y'all? Of course, you'll answer like we're raising enough money to hire everyone we want. Of course, that's probably not going to happen, right? So how do you like balance all that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there are just incredibly obvious pain points, and those are where we're going to hire first. So we have a pretty robust product roadmap, so we'll need at least 2 engineers to come in and work with Maddie full time. We have some contractor work right now. And then on the other side of the house, we have these budding partnerships with major brands and labels and technologies that are just starting right now. And so I can handle most of those. Melinda can handle some of those. We tag team some of these big names. But shortly, we're not going to be able to. Yeah. And so I know for a fact that we'll have to hire like a senior SDR. We'll need to hire probably someone to support them even. How do we handle and grow our major brand partnerships is what I'm alluding to.
So is there anything else to ask you that I haven't asked you yet, or anything else you want to talk about?
I think where my mind goes the most is the differences between, owning a lifestyle business that's bootstrapped. Or I guess those two are different things, bootstrap business, lifestyle business, debt backed, and then venture backed. I think that's the question I get the most often since I've done all 3 of them. And I think back to tying that thought in with your thought on entrepreneurs kind of being a little crazier, having that like sense of grandeur. I think it's really easy for people to get caught up in the fact that getting external funding, whether it's debt backed or venture backed, is the right answer for them. But I don't really think that it's the right answer for a lot of businesses and people. And so I think my ramble here is about being really careful about how you fund your business and what you want your life to turn out like on the day-to-day, on a day-to-day basis. So I think my word of caution or wisdom would be to seek expertise out in people who have done different types of businesses before starting your own.
How about this? They say, don't give up, keep on going, be resilient. Success is right on the corner.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a time when entrepreneurs like not only pivot, but like go back to corporate. like you doing this for like 10 years, you like have
probably
not enough customers. Like, and of course the person is serious, but like we're all like, not realistic, I'm grinding, I'm right there. I can feel it, when should someone say, okay, maybe I need to take a break at least?
Yeah. Well, I think you have to make your ends meet financially. And for me, that's probably where the rubber would meet the road.
So that's your red line, so to speak?
I think that's the red line. Can I support myself and or the people that I need to support? Mm-hmm. And if not, then it's not that you have to go back to corporate, but or have some traditional job, but maybe it's time to figure out a pivot or a different company that meets the needs of a higher volume of people so that you can sell to them.
That's a nice way to put it.
Yeah.
Can you share your social media for yourself and your company so people reach out to you?
Sure. You can find Proxy everywhere at Proxi and then proxy.co. We don't have the .com, but
.co.
yeah, we have the .co. So you can find us on all the handles at some variation of Proxy or Proxy.
And it's free for now, right? You won't just sign up and use it.
And for we envision that for individual users forever, it would be a free product. And then for business users, our elevated experience for like analytics and things like that, that we might institute a fee one day.
So for the business, once you do set a fee, is the fee going to be based on like how many people are in the company, what the revenues for the company, how you would figure out like the pricing model for the businesses?
So I think it's going to be some variation of like by seat. So, you know, if you have 20 people in your news organization who are pumping out maps, then it would be something like that.
And so one thing I think a lot of entrepreneurs have trouble with is figuring out the pricing, right? You always hear, whatever your price is, double or triple it, right? Because you're probably not charging enough. What have you done in the past to figure out your pricing models for different companies and for the current one?
Yeah. So for my first company, I took the pricing model was based on feedback from customers. And that was because it's a SaaS company, you know, you just don't have a lot of overhead. And so you have to maximize what you think you can, what you can charge from people. And so we conducted a large study and priced it based on feedback. That pricing was based on the number of people in a sorority chapter using our product. So that was interesting. And then for my second company, it was a landscape installation company, and that was absolutely fascinating. But that was based on like how much labor was, how much materials were, and then knowing all of your overhead costs, which is the real gotcha in that business. So the trucks, the tools, all of that. And then pricing out some profit on top of that. And then for this business, we've worked with several customers to seek feedback.
So next, talk about the advantages and disadvantages of being a female founder.
So I think it's one and the same for me personally. And I don't think I can speak for everyone, but for me personally, it has been probably my like a combination of my voice, ironically, to everyone listening, and then appearance as well. So, you know, I appear as a younger-ish female, and I think sometimes that doesn't lend itself well in every conversation. Like, just people make assumptions, and any minority listening can understand how that feels in some form or fashion. But when I end up talking to people for quite some time, my credibility increases quickly. And I think it's always my mission, even if I'm trying to make a new friend, of how can I cut down the time it takes to represent my expertise or knowledge. So, you know, can it be in the first 5, you know, can I get that across in the first 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes? What does that look like?
So how long do you wait before you say, okay, I'm not gonna be able to prove anything to this person? Like, do you try like 20 minutes, 30 minutes?
Oh, yeah.
Like, do you say, okay, this is a waste of my time? So you cut off as 45. Okay.
I know that sounds so specific, but you can
and
really
actually, to me, it actually seems kind of long. I would have said like 10 or 15 minutes, be honest with you.
Oh, really?
So I think 45 minutes, that's more than giving someone a chance.
Yeah. And I think it's like, you can really tell when you flip the switch for someone, and when your conversation becomes more real. And for me, that usually happens somewhere around the 20-minute mark, but the credibility continues to grow until like the end of a conversation, like 45 minutes, people will be like, wow, the product is great. You're great. This was fun. But it does, you know, it takes a little bit. And some of that's probably just what we talked about with being female. Some of it might be about the product. it takes a little bit to explain to people.
So how do you deal with it? I'm sure you can tell this right off the bat. You go talk to someone, they're a guy, you just tell the guy's attitude like,
it's not always from guys though.
It's not.
No, it can be from females too, which is really surprising.
So you're funny to miss, like when I was in the military, like it was always like it wasn't funny at the time, but it's like kind of bad. Like, like if you're a female would like kind of go up in rank, right? She would destroy other females beneath her. It was almost like I had to go through the hard times. So you have to do it too, right? Instead of the ability, the past, hey, let me bring up, like, it's always, like people know, like a lot of guys in the numbers are like, man, you're destroying the other females. Like, what are you doing, right?
Yeah. No, that absolutely happens everywhere. Military, outside the military. Melinda and I we talk about this all the time. Like there have been a select few women who have towed the line for us. And so we always try to toe the line for someone who's like 1 or 2 steps behind us as well. So pull them up, pull them into our network, give them access to what we have access to. And there have been a dozen or so women who have done the same for us.
So back to the guy, like you just know off the bat, this guy, like he's a chauvinist. He thinks females should be in the kitchen having babies. Like, how do you just, okay, this is waste my time. I'm not doing business with you. Or do you try to educate him? We just say, hey, this isn't worth my time. Like he's set in his ways. That's going to change him. We can't do business with him. Let's go somewhere else.
Yeah. I got to tell you that really hasn't happened too much. The complete writing off of someone. Usually people will come around and take you seriously in some way or another before the conversation is over. But I guess you're right. If someone were to cross a boundary for me, then of course we couldn't do business with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So when y'all do your hire, what kind of characteristics do people need to be successful at Proxy?
Energetic, well respected by their current peers, an expert in what they're doing, or at least the ability to ask really good questions about what they're doing, and have high integrity. I think those were the 4 that we outlined.
And I'm guessing you're a remote company, right?
We have an office in the Seattle area.
So hybrid, so to speak.
Yep. And then our director of engineering works out of a different state. She was with Facebook elsewhere. And so she has a life built there. And so she's staying. The rest of us happen to be in this area, except for our offshore team. They're in the Philippines. I think in the future, we will allow people to be wherever they need to be. And as long as they get their work done, it's no problem.
What do you see the future of that? Like remote work, hybrid, or some people say, remote work, you can't bring a culture of collaboration. Other people say, why are you going to go to the office? Because that's so if you're in the office 9 to 5, you're actually only working 20 hours a week.
Oh, totally.
Plus, all the gas stuff. I joked with someone the other day, like I'm gonna go put some gas on layaway.
Oh my gosh. Well, at this point, I think you're gonna have to. I land firmly that people can be completely virtual. But I also think that it is important to have an office. So I think for Proxy, Melinda feels the same way. So we'll always have some sort of touchdown space where people can come together. But if you need to be virtual, then for some people, a lot of people are more productive like that.
Yes.
You do waste a lot of time in the office.
Yes.
Getting there, talking to people, which is important.
Yeah.
But it's not like heads down work.
But do you really need to know why Tom's 3rd grader hit a home run in the T-ball game yesterday? I mean, you don't want to say you don't care about it, but like Tom, like I have a report due in 20 minutes, right?
We've all been there. Oh my gosh. I have no more comments because I worked in corporate America for a long time and I have a lot of good stories about that.
You go to work, and always some of the work starts at 9. Yeah. They show up at 9:10 and unpack a breakfast, eat breakfast 9:10 to 9:45,
Yep.
Then go take a break, they disappear. And then like I know a lot of people I think Howard's the way to go. Cause I can't work from home. I can, but I really can't, right? Cause I'll say all the time on the podcast, I'll get up every 10 minutes, get a snack, I'll just watch TV for 30 minutes. Next thing I've known, I'll watch 6 hours or something, or man, I'm kind of tired. Let me go take a nap for 20 minutes. Next thing you know, it's like, wife's waking me up. How long have you been asleep? What time is it? Oh, shit.
Yeah, I've been asleep all day.
Yeah, so I have to come somewhere, But then again, do I want to
come in every day? That's your strategy.
Yeah.
When do you decide to stay home?
I can have an appointment. Like I said, I had a dental appointment, you know,
Okay.
just different things. But then again, do I want to come to a cubicle? Do I want to see the same people every day? You know, like, do I want to be, do like, I come when I want to, like, do I want to go? You have to be here at 9, have to be here, you have to do this right. Like,
Yep.
I come and go as I please. Of course, I'm an
Well,
entrepreneur.
that's the reason you're an entrepreneur, though. Yeah.
Yeah. I can imagine, like,
how was that transition from military life
to
this, you know?
It was hard because like my first post army job, I worked to try to seafoods HR manager, right?
Okay.
And so in the military, we have this like, you know, this gravitational checklist, age driven, blah blah, all this stuff, you know, take control, right? So I'm purposely not gonna do that, right? Purposely not gonna do it. And so I was there a couple months. The boss said, "Hey, Jason, you did a great job, but you not kind of like slow down. People sitting make it look bad." I thought to myself, I'm working like 30% capacity, right? Like, you want me to work day on, day off? So that's one challenge. Other challenge was, you know, in the military, you got to, you know, of course, one bad the military has, like, it's not like do as I say, right? People like this collaboration. Hey, what do you think about this? And you know, go do it right. But usually, like, when the decision is made, you have to go do it right. So I had this like meeting, we had this daily meeting in the plant, and the plant manager told the engineer team, y'all need to finish this in 2 weeks. They said we might get to it next month. And I passed the fuck out. Like, what the hell is going on here, right?
What is happening?
Yeah, you know, so those kind of things. Yeah, you know, it's a challenge. That's why I think the stats are like most military veterans, they have 2 jobs like first 2 years, right? So it's just a challenge, of course. And then it's not easy. It's hard. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big transition, man.
Yeah, but you know, like, you know, you pick the time you want to come, you know. Yeah, I couldn't imagine going to like the office every day, 9 to 5 now. Like I was joking one time, you'd have to pay me a lot of money, like
a lot of money to have to go live that lifestyle again.
A lot of money. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, do you meet other people in the office?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, they're comfortable. Some people are uncomfortable because COVID and stuff. So, you know, I mean, in person, like, and one thing, like during COVID, I probably traveled way too much, right? I was traveling all over the place, right? But I was like, man, I never seen an airplane this clean. You know, there's no one in the line, no one sneezing on me.
It's the time to travel.
Yeah, and now things are back pre-COVID, and man, this is horrible. Like I always say, if you want to see the worst of humanity, go to travel on a plane.
Oh, that's hands down the truth. People are rude and mean, and
they like skip in front of you, like, you don't see me standing here.
I know.
Or guess me,
or it's dirty, or just people will leave trash there.
Guess me too. Like someone gets on a plane, you know, you're the next last person on the plane. You have this big ass suitcase.
Oh no, don't.
And you know it's not going to fit anywhere. First of all, how come the plane didn't make you like check it, you know? And so they're up and down trying to like crush other people's stuff. Like
they're holding the whole plane up.
Yes.
Oh no.
And the attendants are trying to be polite. Well, ma'am or sir, you know, maybe you should check it in. No, I got to take it with me, you know, or maybe just take your computer out.
Yeah.
And then the worst thing, they try to move someone's stuff or try to crush someone's stuff, you know, like, why are you moving my stuff for, you know?
That's so true. What about invading space on a plane? I feel like that's the worst. People just invade your personal bubble, lean into your chair, take their socks off.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
No.
Or they lean back.
Eat like something stinky.
Yeah. Or they lean back. Like, I know you can lean back, but do you know how close this is? Like, are you really that much of a jerk, you know?
It's like, you know, I'm back here, you know, please don't.
Especially when it's like during like there's a meal or whatever, you know.
Oh, I know. And like, they know your tray is out.
Yeah, exactly.
They know you're sitting next to someone. And oh my goodness.
Plane travel.
It's a wild ride out there.
Yeah, hopefully we will afford our own private jets in the future, right? You don't have to worry about that. Or at least fly first class.
That's the dream.
Yeah, but people, there's a lot of bad people out there, a lot of good people, you know. It's craziness out there, right?
It is.
So how long you been in Seattle?
I've been in Seattle for 10 years.
Okay.
Yep. Since 2011. So what, 11 years maybe? Yeah. It's been a while. We came from the Dallas area, Dallas Fort Worth, and then went to Texas A&M.
Nice.
Moved up here. So Seattle's a great spot for a lot of reasons. It's beautiful, right?
Yeah, one day out of the year.
Yeah, I know it's been a little hard lately.
Yeah, I was joking around. Like the math formula for Seattle weather is 1 day of sun, 21 days of rain.
Yep, that's it.
Like the day before, Wednesday, it was so nice outside. I was on the rooftop. It's like beautiful. Tomorrow, like, oh my goodness, like, is it rain. Just like revenge for the weather god for having a nice day?
Yes, I know. And it's been the worst in 70 some years, I think is what they said.
I saw somewhere where it said like since January 1st, we've only had 5 hours of 70 or above weather.
Oh my God.
And usually like 150. And you think about 150 is not a lot anyway, right?
Yep. It's not even a lot to begin with. And then we've
70 above.
Are you from Seattle?
No, I'm from Texas.
That's what I
Yeah,
thought. Okay.
yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
So you know the drill. The
Yeah.
transition to the rain is hard.
Yeah. When it's nice, my man. Like sometimes the days, like I tell people, not that it rains a lot. Like I tell all the time, like in Texas, it'll rain an inch in an hour.
Oh,
Here, it might take a week, 2 weeks to rain an inch, right? But it's always gray, like
Oh,
all the time.
that's the hardest part. Do you go back very often?
As often as I can, yeah.
Okay.
But I need to go back pretty soon, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I probably waited too late because I was like, hotter
Like
than
too
hell.
hot. It's hotter.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the hottest summer in a long time.
Yeah, I think somebody told me it's like 107 in San Antonio yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where my family is right now. So
Yeah. So it was, so any last minute advice or anything you want to talk about or give anybody?
if you're working on an entrepreneurial endeavor and you're leading one, whether you have a team or not, I think the thing that leads to the most success is sticking with it. Even in the moments that feel a little bit hard and uncomfortable, the longer you can stick with it, if you have a good offering, of course, I think the better the outcome will be in the end.
Hey, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Really enjoyed it.
And to our listeners, thank you for your time as well. Remember to be great every day.